Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Sports Illustrated beat writer covering the Las Vegas Raiders and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. It's very, very good to be with you today. I'm sorry the podcast is getting out a little bit late, but really appreciate all of you. I'm grateful for you. I want to dig right in today. We're going to be talking quarterbacks. Um, we're going to answer. I got what I think may be one of the best emails I've ever gotten, and from one of the listeners, and I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to tell you how some NFL executives evaluated the question that the person asked. It was just brilliant. And then we're going to look at the quarterback situation in totality, some things that some people have represented that I've said that are not truthful. And I want to put everything into context. But today's entire podcast is going to be quarterback specific. I want to give a big shout out. I got a text this morning from a Jimmy Tober, Tober, and this is what Jimmy says to me. Hi, Hondo, longtime fan located in the Niagara region of Canada. Can I ask a question? If A04 was in the draft this year, where would he place among all of this quarterback class? I think it's an important point that I haven't heard discussed as of yet. If he would be rated third or fourth, would he be expected to be picked where would he be expected to be picked when repicking? Thank you. And it says a little bit more. Again, this is from Jimmy Tober. So I was just getting on the airplane when Jimmy sent this. So I sent it out to four executives, and I asked them if what you know about Aidan O'Connell, including last year, you knew now, and he was coming out, how would you evaluate him in this draft? Now, I want to say a couple of things before I answer Jimmy's question, because I think it's important. I said last year, before the season was over, Brian Hoyer and Jimmy Garoppolo would not be back. That was no secret. I said they should sign a veteran and get a rookie. That's no secret. I have said that and maintained it all along. I have also said if they feel that there is a foundational quarterback in which they have no reservations, health, off the field, whatever, you go get that guy. You go get him. And I stand by that. There have been some people that said, well, if they pick Penix, boy, Hondo's going to be upset because he keeps telling everybody what his drafters tell him. No, I'm giving you information. I'm void of opinion here. But I've also been very warning. If you don't feel like you have a generational franchise quarterback, you don't take a risk. Remember, my job is to present all the information and then allow you, the fan, have the privilege of saying, oh, this is a generational, foundational guy. Go get him. Okay, that's cool. I don't care if you feel like it's Milton. I don't care if you feel like it's Rattler. I don't care if you feel like it's Jaden Daniels, whomever you think it is. Great. You're entitled to that opinion. And I don't minimize it. But my job is to present to you, this is what the people that I respect are telling me. Here's where the evaluations are. And then you make the opinion. You make the judgment. I like Michael Penix. He is a great kid. Great kid. And he's a great quarterback. I've also pointed out, which is legitimate, if he didn't have all of his injuries, he'd be a candidate for the number one overall quarterback in this class. But 4 season-ending injuries, both shoulders, both knees, is a huge concern. Now, if the Raiders say, no, we're good with it, great. I have no problem with it. I'm not going to be critical of that pick. Unless it doesn't work. Then you got to go back and say, okay, this was the warning signs. The Raiders ignored that, and it worked for them or didn't. Either they're going to get all the praise or all the blame. Remember last year when Josh McDaniels signed Jimmy Garoppolo? I said, this does not appear to be a wise pick when talking to people around the NFL, but they deserve, if this is their guy and they're confident, and they put their future in him, They deserve that. You can go back and watch those podcasts. I said that numerous times. It didn't work. They got the blame. They're not here. Now, when I got off the plane, I had heard from 3 of the 4 guys I sent it to, and then I moments ago just heard from the 4. So these are 4 NFL executives who I trust. They're men that I know, and they're men that have a proven track record, some better than others, but they all are proven at the quarterback position. Here is the question that I sent them. Had one of my listeners today ask me, where would Aidan O'Connell rate in this class if you were drafting today? Please include all information that you saw from last year. Okay? 4 different guys. Here is the first. This is a great question. I agree with you, Hondo. Whoever asked it, you should let them know I think it was a great question. So there you go, Jimmy. I liked Aidan O'Connell last year. I liked him better the year before when we had a first-round grade on him. But I understood last year he didn't have the talent around him. Purdue had a harder schedule, the death of his brother. There were a lot of things. After what I saw last year, I would have Aidan O'Connell worthy of a top 10 pick this year. I understand there were some things that he didn't do. But I've heard you use the analogy before. A quarter horse would blow away a thoroughbred in a quarter-mile race. But a thoroughbred would destroy a quarter horse in a 1.5-mile race. It's 2 different horses for 2 different lengths. A lot of people would be critical of Aidan O'Connell for several things he didn't do last year. And I would agree he didn't do them. But what I would say is this. They could not revamp the playbook. They couldn't go out and add talent to what they wanted to do, even though it was clear they were changing the scheme. He did what was asked. No matter how you cut the tomato, football is about winning and losing. I don't remember Al Davis saying, just lose sexy or just win ugly. Al's motto was just win, baby. He went 3-1 against the AFC down the West. 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. Last 5 games, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. You can clearly point to games where the offense was unproductive. But no one seems to mention the changing scheme, injured players, staff, etc. Everyone played into it, including there were some mistakes by Devontae and other players. The point is, he was 3-1 against the AFC West. You saw what he did, which was exactly what he was asked. He did it in a playoff atmosphere, and he did it with the bullets and shrapnel going off around him. I have him as a clear top 10, but to be safe, top 15 for sure. That's the first one. Okay, here's the second one. That is a fantastic question. Based on what I saw last year and understanding the dynamics of what was going around with him with the Raiders, you know how much I loved him in college. I saw nothing last year that would make me say he can't be a QB1. There are still things I need to see. But all of the quarterbacks in this draft have questions and issues as well, and none of them have done it in the pros. Aidan has. If I was the Raiders sitting at 13 this year and Aidan O'Connell got to me, that's a no-brainer. You make that pick. That's another one. Here comes another. That question to me is very logical. I like to live in a logic-based question and answering atmosphere. To me, it would be very clear. First-round talent. There may be one guy, possibly 2 in this draft that I would take ahead of him, but he could be 1, 2, or 3. There you go. And here's the last one. Great question. To me, he would be the second best quarterback on my board this year. There you go. No, that's coming from people who are executives who are proven. And we're successful. Again, I have told you all along, I am not a cheerleader for Aidan O'Connell, but I'm also not a hater. That's not my job. My job is to present to you information. There are a lot of people around the league that think the Raiders are zeroing in on a couple of guys that they could potentially pick. There are also a lot of guys that say, man, there's some reservations there. It's going to be a home run or a strikeout. And so whatever they do, I'm going to be okay, great. Great. Whatever they do. If they say I'm going to pick Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle from Texas, to be our quarterback, okay, you got 20 games. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, be just like with Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think you can evaluate a quarterback fully within that period unless he plays all 20. But the point that I'm making is whatever the Raiders do, whatever they do, they're putting their careers on the line. I'm not, and you're not. You're not. Whoever they pick is their choice. Whoever they pick is their decision. Now, you may go back and say, I called it this or I called it that. Okay, fine. But unless you keep all the things called, then you saying you called it on one thing is irrelevant. I used to laugh when I used to do Raider Nation radio. People would call in, I'm never rooting for this team again until Derek Carr's gone. Ever. I'm done. But they still would watch and root and still complain about Derek. Well, what is it? You can't call it on one thing and then point out everything that you missed it on. That's what I love about the digital age. I have no problem being accountable for what I predicted or said. That's why I'm constantly reminding you about what my predictions are. I said last year, it's not the Raiders would go 9-8. They went 8-9. I was off by 1. And the year before, I was very bad. The previous year, I was right on the money. The year before, I was on the money. And the year before that, I was off by 1. Right in that sweet spot. I don't have a problem being held accountable. But I need you to understand, I'm not rooting for anyone in this. I think the Raiders, and I said it, go get a veteran, go get a rookie. Let everyone compete. I don't think there's enough to just give the job to Aidan. Plus, you got to have more than one quarterback in the modern NFL. But I think Aidan has earned the right to go into these camps as one full, fair competition and let him beat him out. Now, I, for one, think that Aidan, his whole career, high school, college, last year in the pros, every time he's been counted out, he's proved people wrong. Okay? Now, it's no secret I have a friendship with Kirk Cousins. I've known Kirk and his family a long time. Kirk did it in Holland, Michigan. He did it at Michigan State. He did it at Washington when in the same draft they picked Robert Griffin in the first round, they picked Kirk later. He's done it everywhere he's gone. I like guys that like to compete. I like guys that aren't afraid to compete. Aidan O'Connell made it really clear. Hey, I'm going to have to compete anyways, so I don't really care who they bring in. This is about me keeping the job, not about them beating me. I love that. But I've also said they need to go get that rookie. They need to go get that veteran. And I've also said, I've never said anything different. It's got to be a competition. Is there a guy that if I could move up, I would? But it's not my call. Is there a guy that I would select at 13 if he dropped. Yeah. And but whatever they do, it isn't a pro or an anti. This is where the media gets into it, and they need to keep that out of it. My job is to give you information. It's my job to present to you what successful drafters have said. So then if it works out, you could say, wow, okay, Telesco and Pierce are among the very good quarterback drafters because a lot of people thought they were making a mistake and it worked out. Then guess what? Then their credibility with quarterbacks goes way up. And if they fail, you could say, okay, they don't have a good track record with quarterbacks. And if they fail, they're probably not going to be here. That's just the reality. I hope Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce are here for 25 years. I hope I'm here too. Again, it's not rooting for or against. It's presenting the accumulation of information. I thought Jimmy's question was really good. So let's talk about the quarterback class. Okay, I told you when the season was over, the Raiders inquired about trades. That's why it was no secret. I told you in February and in late January, February, really. So it was no secret. Those who listen to this podcast and follow our reporting at si.com/NFL/Raiders, you already knew this. No secret. You already knew it. And they knew the cost. And I told you for them to go to 13-1 was going to cost 3 1s and 3 2s at the time that the pick was available. It's not available anymore. And I told you prior to the combine, the Raiders wanted to make that move. They had to go to 1, and they had to do it now because it probably wasn't going to be available. And that's exactly how it played out. I've told you all along. I've heard that the Commanders would only move if somebody did something stupid, but they did not want to move. That has played out. I told you the same thing about the Patriots. Okay. I believe if the draft were to go today, it would be Caleb, Jaden, JJ. That's how I believe the draft will go. Now, could be a little bit of a difference with JJ, but that's how I believe the draft's going to go. So now the question is, what about Drake May? Arizona has been very emphatic when people have called them that the pick's not available right now. I have a feeling on draft night, pending on who called, that could change. If they flipped with a New York Giants and then they thought, okay, we flip with the Giants, they move up, take JJ or Drake May, and the Bolts take the tight end Bowers or whomever. Or let's say they take Marvin Harrison. Okay, if they like Neighbors as much as Harrison, and I'm going to tell you this real quick, I am hearing a bunch of people tell me around the NFL that it's probably 60-40 among the league on whether it's Harrison or Neighbors as the number one wide receiver. Now, to me, I've seen a ton of Marvin. I've seen a ton. So to me, it's really close. To me, there are some red flags with Marvin, not character like being a bad guy, just a couple of concerns that I would have. But I haven't seen as much Neighbors. So to me, I'm 50-50 on it. I'm not trying to be a politician either. I'm literally I'm literally 50-50. Now, I want to show you something. So if they could say, well, we can move to 6 and still get the quarterback we want, I could see them doing that. I don't know how much farther they would be willing to move Arizona unless somebody is doing something stupid. If somebody's doing something stupid, well, God bless you then. Now, I want to talk about, so where do the quarterbacks go? Okay. The quarterback people that I trust don't think Bo Nix is a first-round quarterback. Okay. I think that he's probably going to go in the first round. I'm just showing you what they think. Penix, Again, every quarterback draft evaluator that I like has Penix high, but he gets docked because of the injuries. I had one guy tell me, depending on the system you run, it doesn't even matter. Think about that. Depending on the system you run, it doesn't matter. He thinks Penix is exponentially better than Nix. Exponentially. Those are his words. So, anyways, I just think that's something to keep in your in the back of your head. Who's next? You got Jaden, Caleb, Drake, JJ, Bowen, Penix. I think there's a good chance they're going in the first round. Okay. And again, wherever you think they should go is great. I'm not giving you Hondo opinion. I'm giving you the opinion of the others. So when you look at the quarterback situation and how everything can fall, then you have to ask yourself, okay, do the Raiders sit at 13 and hope somebody drops to them a quarterback that they like? Or if they're convinced, okay, we can't get to the top 3, but we love Penix, great. Where do you got to go to get him? Seriously, where do you got to go to get him? You don't really know. So do you if he's your guy, you're willing to overpay because it's not overpaying. It's just the dynamics. That's all. And so I just wanted to answer Jimmy's question. I wanted to give it to you. Again, it's not a pro Aidan. It's not an anti Aidan. It's just what is the sentiment in the league. And I thought that was pretty interesting. There was a lot he didn't do, but he wasn't asked to do it. He didn't have all the practices. They were trying to change the scheme. And remember, I've already shared with you about how practice during the week isn't like you think. You come in on Monday, it's literally treatment. When you get there Wednesday, then you start to put the game plan in. You practice Wednesday and a little bit on Thursday, and then a walkthrough on Friday. And I mean, it's not even really a practice. Literally not. It's just a walkthrough. There's just not a lot of time to change that stuff. Those are all legitimate things. Now, if you don't think that Aidan's the guy, I don't care. And I don't mean that arrogantly, like I'm sitting here, oh, I know more than no. I have no problem with that. The people I trust saw enough to say, wow, 3-1 against the AFC West. Look at what he did over the last 5 games. Several of them, talk about those wins and things he did do. And it's 6 to 1, half dozen to the other. But I wanted to address quarterbacks today. I think it's going to be a fascinating draft. I am sitting here today as a 53-year-old man, and I don't know that I've ever been more fascinated by an NFL draft. Now, in tomorrow's podcast, we're going to have a lot for you, including I am going to give you a name that's rising that I think you're going to be fascinated about. It's a guy that we've talked to you about, but he's a guy that's rising among a lot of people. And don't miss tomorrow's podcast. It's going to be all draft. Again, I wanted to address that. I thought Jimmy's question was fantastic. Apologize for the lateness of the podcast. I hope you understand it was a travel day. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. Please remember, go to Hondo SR on IG and at Hondo Carpenter on X, formerly known as Twitter, and make SI.com/NFL/Raiders the place you go to read all of our articles. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. God bless you. Thanks for joining us today, right here on the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Thank you.